Brought to you by the Libertarian Party of Minnesota, bringing you peace, prosperity, and freedom from the land of 10,000 lakes.
Welcome to Minnesota Liberty. We are excited to bring to you a little presidential forum tonight. My name is James. I'm filling in for Rebecca, getting all the tech goblins out of the way at the very beginning of the show. I am joined, as frequently, by Troy Felton. Troy, you want to say hi?
Hello. Welcome. Looking
Hey.
forward to a fun show tonight.
Me too. All right. So with that kind of intro out of the way, why don't you tell us about our events?
Yeah, before we get started, be sure to check out our upcoming events. The Beltrami County affiliate for the Libertarian Party is meeting on August 9th at 7 p.m. at Bridges Pub in Bemidji. Our new virtual meet and greet events are live. The next one is August 20th at 8 p.m. on Zoom. Head over to lpmn.org/events for the link. And finally, we need some volunteers for the state fair. It's fair time coming up here, 4th through September. If you're able to sign up, you can do that at lpmn.org events. And hopefully we'll get a number of people to come show up at the fair and help out.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for that, Troy. We did get started a couple of minutes late, so let's go ahead and bring in our guests. ter Maat, Josh Smith, candidates for President of the United States, candidates right now for the Libertarian nomination for President of the United States. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us on super short notice as well. Congratulations to Rebecca for having her baby, but she is the normal host, and so we kind of had to scramble to get guests, and I'm glad we were able to get a couple of big names. Mike, do you want to get started?
It's a great joy to be with you. Thanks for arranging it, and good job on you for getting it done while Rebecca is out on maternity leave.
Yeah.
By the
Josh,
way,
welcome.
double
Go ahead,
good
Mike.
job on you, because the person that normally interfaces with you, James and Troy, on our team, Gabby Cordova, just delivered her first boy 2 days ago. So
cool.
Awesome.
So it makes
John?
it doubly challenging, but she's healthy and the baby's healthy, and we're very excited and happy to help with the interface myself.
Sweet. Congratulations to her and to your team. Josh, you've got another one on the way too, right?
Yep, December. I think the tentative due date is December 3rd, and we're pretty sure it's a boy. We haven't gotten confirmation on it yet, but that'll give us 3 boys at 3 and under. So my oldest of the younger boys will be 3 December 31st. So we'll have 3 that are 3, almost 2, and newborn. And they'll all be boys. So it's going to be a wild house for a couple of years, but I'm excited about it. I love it. Also want to give a shout out to Gabby. Her husband and I talk quite frequently, and we were talking in chat about that earlier. That's really cool. He's in love, and I'm glad to see them happy and healthy. So absolutely.
That's awesome.
You got a badass fundraiser there, Mike.
Oh, absolutely. We're very excited just to be affiliated, just to be associated with Gabby. By the way, I'm told that they didn't go for my first suggestion of Michael Cordova. They went with Nathaniel. But, maybe I could talk him into Michael Joshua Cordova.
Well, I will say Nathaniel, my middle name is Daniel, and Nathaniel almost rhymes with it. So
almost.
Yeah, we're real close.
It's gonna take a concerted effort to overthrow what they've already written on the birth certificate, but maybe we could do it.
Agreed.
You can do it. I think you can. That's both Old Testament prophets, by the way. So that's good to know too. Well, so the reason that we wanted to have you guys on was, so first of all, you guys are my top 2 choices for the nomination. Mike, I was totally team ter Maat until Josh announced. So now I'm
that's great.
I'm not gonna say ambivalent, but you guys are my 2 favorites. If Chase and Lars and anybody else wants to come on, they can reach out as well. But I wanted to have y'all on first and not have too crowded of a screen. I guess, Mike, I'll start with you because you announced your nomination, your candidacy a long time ago. I mean, you've been running for president for a couple of years now, right?
For 1 year, yeah. It might feel like 2, but it's only been 1. We launched early because, of course, I was starting with virtually no name recognition nationwide. I had run for Congress in Florida and knew the Florida people. but had not known all that many people in the rest of the party nationwide. So we decided to go ahead and get started early, just to get to know everybody.
Yeah, it's cool. It was great to meet you in Reno, and then again here in Minneapolis. We actually chatted. I think we were in line at the UPS store in the Reno
I think that's right.
Convention Center.
I was just remembering that, and I remember that everybody was pissed off because the UPS store was charging people something, I want to say like $30 just to give you your package. If you had shipped a package there, they wanted like $30 for each package. I think I gave them like $150 to pick up my 5 boxes. I was like, what?
Yeah, just crazy. Well, so what made you decide to run for president?
Well, I think that we have a big opportunity in 2024. That's not a news flash, right? But I think that to take advantage of that opportunity, we need to do a couple of things right. And that means doing a few things that we haven't done in past presidential cycles. I also don't think it's a news flash to say a lot of people inside of our party, myself included, have been pretty disappointed with the way that national campaigns, presidential campaigns have rolled out, have been conducted in the past. And so specifically what I mean is that I believe that we need to run with a very policy forward platform, a very policy forward campaign. And for that platform to include the most bold, most transformational ideas. As you and I were chatting earlier, the platform that I'm running on, we call the Gold New Deal. We separately brand it and gave it its own URL because it's our commitment to running on that platform the whole way through the general election. We have no intention of trying to back off of it or watering it down for purposes of reaching out to people in the general election. We believe that the right strategy in terms of reaching the most people possible is to run a completely differentiated campaign, a campaign that makes no mistake about the fact that we are not a Republican and we are not a Democrat, that we are running on a very principled platform, something that we have not done in past presidential cycles, in my view. We have not been stark enough. We have not been sufficiently differentiated. We had not been bold enough. We had not defined ourselves in our own context. I think that we were all disappointed when, just as an example, our candidate 5-6 years ago defined himself as fiscally conservative like a Republican and socially liberal like a Democrat, which I think is a failure of marketing 101 to define yourself in the context of your competitors. But parenthetically, it's not even true in the sense that Republicans aren't fiscally conservative anymore and Democrats aren't in any real modern sense socially liberal. So it's important, I believe, in terms of strategy, but I also believe it's the right thing to do ethically, to let people know what libertarianism is all about. You have to run with principles that can be applied to a number of situations to teach people what libertarianism is and how it applies to their daily lives. So for both purposes of marketing ourselves in a fully branded and differentiated way and the right strategy to reach out to as many people as possible, I believe that we have to run with a very bold platform. So that's what it's all about for us. That's why I'm in it, to run that kind of campaign. I do believe that running that kind of a campaign, running with the most transformational ideas, means necessarily you've got to work a little bit harder to back that up with credibility. In other words, as you all know, I spent a lot of time talking about ending the Federal Reserve System and replacing it with a rules-based system. That's not the kind of thing that most Americans, I believe, are used to hearing. But we do need to say it. If we don't say it, nobody else will, right? So we need to be able to say it, and that means we need to be able to back it up. And having been an economist for a couple of decades, having worked with the Federal Reserve System, not as an employee, but having worked with the system, having criticized the system, having my research publicly cited by the Fed chairman, I've met with the Fed board itself in the boardroom. I think I know how to sunset the Fed, and I know why, and I know how to replace it. And it's that kind of credibility that I think a lot of people will be expecting when we go out there with some fairly bold propositions. So for that reason, I think that we have the right kind of campaign.
Awesome. Well, speaking of boldness, Josh, you are kind of known as the so it's at equal points. You're either a bold messenger for liberty or whatever, or you're a shit poster who nobody should take seriously.
Sure.
So I guess kind of same question for you. What made you decide to run?
Well, it's, my answer is going to be similar to Mr. Mike's there, probably in a radically different way, but still similar. I came to politics as an anti-war activist. It's been my life's mission to see the end of endless wars around the world at the hands of a downright evil policy, foreign policy. And on that journey, I found Dr. Ron Paul in 2007. Of course, I worked on Ron Paul's campaign in 2008, and then famously he endorsed me for national chairman in 2020. It was one of the greatest days of my life. But I've done a lot of work for the Libertarian Party over the last 6 or 7 years. And in that work, I always had the fire and drive of the Ron Paul revolution in my heart. I always believed that that's what I was trying to bring to the Libertarian Party. And, we had some wins in 2022 in Reno, that section of the party, and those people that are still hyped up on the Ron Paul revolution. And I wanted to see a candidate that was going to run a revolutionary campaign and be bold and be brash and be radical and say the things that people want to hear. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and I didn't see that candidate. And that's no knock on any of the other candidates that are running right now. But I did some talking with some friends, and it was kind of in the back of my mind, like, hey, you could do this. You've built a decent national platform. Anybody who's telling you as a libertarian candidate that they are going to win win the presidency as a libertarian, it's probably blowing hot air. But I know that we can get 5%. I know that we could become a national party, a major party in the country. And to do that, we need somebody that ignites a fire. And I started really thinking about it. I'm a blue collar working class guy. I've been through the plight of many, many, many Americans, millions. In fact, probably the majority of Americans. I understand what's harming us. I understand what hurts my pocket. I understand what hurts my family. I understand how property works in America. And so I decided to kind of do it as a challenge and see, what we could drum up. And within 3 days, we had a 40-person campaign team. We were already fundraising. We have campaign videos coming out, and we're being invited on huge, major independent media outlets like Tim Pool on August 30th. So, it was I wanted to see that Ron Paul revolution fire built back up. That's what I've been working for the last 6 years. And, if I wasn't going to see anybody else that was going to bring that same drive, then I'm going to do it. And so I announced, and it's been a success so far. I'd say that we're doing very well. And I think that, if you give me the chance in May of next year to be the candidate for the Libertarian Party, that we're going to get that 5%, and we're going to become a major national political party that actually starts to challenge these long held positions of power. And, we're going to put some things in the mainstream media that haven't been talked about. Like Mike said, ending the Fed. It's also one of the tenets of my campaign. In any libertarian with his salt should make that his central point of his campaign. Of course, I'm working with an economist as well, who's also into energy, and we've talked about getting off the OPEC dollar and working towards something that we call the kilowatt dollar by opening 40 Gen 4 nuclear power plants and actually exporting energy to back our dollar, which I think is a great plan. My friend that's an economist has been working on it for 8 years. It's a really great plan. It's a theory, but I believe it could work. Outside of that, we want to end the wars. I know that's radical to a lot of people, but we have to end these wars. They're not beneficial to the American public anymore. And we're going to run a little bit of a populist message too. There's a lot of things going on in the country right now that are harming our youth. And I think that people are very, very, very concerned with their children and what's going to happen with their children's future, whether that means education or healthcare or violence, and those things need to be addressed. And so we're going to take up a little bit of a populist mantle there and talk about those things and how we can fix them as libertarians. And so I think I have what it takes to do this. I think I have what it takes to go out there and get us that 5%. If you've known me at all for the last 6 years, I'm not afraid to beat down doors to places that I wasn't invited to. And I'm going to make a huge fuss. And we're gonna disrupt the mainstream corporate news media. We're gonna disrupt their agenda to weaken America, and we're gonna start putting focus back on Americans.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for giving us a little bit of an overview about your campaigns. And when James had initially asked me to be a part of this, I was super excited. So I went online and I did some research on both of you guys, and James took the question that I had lined up. So that's it. Show over. And I did have a question, though, Mike, about your previous political experience. You ran back in 2021, 2022 as the Libertarian Party candidate in the January special congressional election in Florida. And was just curious as to how you think that experience will help you in your campaign here.
I think you learn that Americans have a libertarian streak, but they wouldn't characterize it as such and don't know what that means. You spend, when you campaign locally, it's a very visceral experience. It's a very local, hands-on experience to meet people in the Walmart parking lot and to knock on doors and to go to small meetings one after another, to meet with local, media, local radio hosts and small programs. And you learn that you need to spend much of your time explaining even what libertarianism is, what the Libertarian Party is all about. In some cases, you need to teach people how to spell libertarian, right? But you do learn that most Americans have a libertarian streak. Most Americans do believe in a nation of cultural tolerance. They believe that the world works best and our government works best when it's a hands-off, when you can lead your life by your own standards. I think that most Americans want a society that reflects that. And I think that most Americans recognize that they have been left in the dirt by the Republican Party and by the Democratic Party. Most people, in the Republican Party are disappointed, not just by their leadership, but by the fact that, as I mentioned before, they're not fiscally conservative. And Democrats, too, are similarly concerned that their party has left them. And that's what those are the kinds of conversations that you can have when you run locally. So it's very much an in-touch experience. And I think that what I found is that if you identify yourself as a libertarian, if you run on a platform that's very much policy forward and includes the most transformational ideas, people will find you, right? You can raise that flag hard and high and give libertarians a chance to find you, but give everybody a chance to see what it is that you're all about, because people do have something inside them that says, I'm disappointed with the way things are going, and I'm willing to take a look, not just at any old party, but a third party that represents American values. And I think that that's the real value in campaigning locally.
Thanks for that. And Josh, if I could ask of you kind of a similar question with your political experience. So you've been involved with the LP National for quite a while, 2 terms as a at-large rep, and then also the vice chair of the National Committee. So how do you feel your political experience is going to help you in this?
Sure. I've gotten to do some really, really great things for this party all around the country. In fact, I've been to 48 states over the last 6 years, which has really opened my eyes to, there's a different culture in every state. There's a different culture in every county and every city. I would disagree with Mike, and I know this isn't a debate, but I would disagree that most Americans think of themselves as libertarians. In fact, I find a lot of people refuse to associate themselves with the moniker. It's been an embarrassing thing for them for a long time. And they may share some policies with us. And I think that's where the populist message comes in. You know, like I said, I think people are worried about their children. I think people are worried about education. I think people are worried about, you know, their income tax and the interest rates. And there's a lot of things that people are worried about. But at the end of the day, I think the majority of people think the government is supposed to be taking care of those things. But that's, you know, I've gotten to shake hands with thousands and thousands of people around the country over the last 6 years. I got to do some ballot access petitioning in different states. I got to work on all kinds of great, wonderful candidates' campaigns around the country, whether it be social media or door knocking or phone banking or any of that kind of stuff. I kind of learned how to put together a really strong campaign from bits and pieces of campaigns all over the country. And that's, you know, one of the first things that I did, even though, you know, at first this campaign was kind of like, hey, we're going to just be a challenge. We were able to put together a 40-person campaign team right away. And it's been great. I have people who put together, you know, websites and fundraisers and merch sites and videos and graphics and all that stuff. And I don't even have to do much when it comes to that, which is important for any candidate to be able to go out and be the face of the campaign and talk to people. So the knowledge that I've gained from being in the national committee and campaigning for the last 7 years, I mean, really, truly, if you want to call it what it is. I campaigned for chairman in 2020 or 2018. I campaigned for chairman again in 2020. And then I campaigned for vice chairman in 2022. So I've run a national campaign, you know, 3 of them. And I also got to see what leadership looks like at the national level. So it's gotten me ready for what I think will be a very, very strong campaign just by practice. So that's where I'm at.
Well, and I understand that we got a comment in the chat here from the Scientific Libertarian.
Troy, if I may, just real quick, I wanted to make sure that we didn't have a misunderstanding. What Joshua was suggesting was he disagreed with actually the opposite of what I said.
Oh,
I said that Americans do not identify themselves as libertarians.
I swear I thought I heard do, and I was like, oh man, I was, you know, I got bad hearing sometimes.
I said that I have to spend, I learned that you have to spend most of your time explaining what libertarianism is. Indeed, I spend a lot of time just teaching people how to spell it.
This is why I push back, Mike. Whenever anybody says Mike ter Maat just sounds like Gary Johnson warmed over, like you're the opposite almost. Because he's the one who said most people are libertarian. And
not at all.
I'd like to dig into that comparison a little bit. Do you think it's just
because
of all,
let me apologize to Mike because I totally heard that wrong. Totally heard it wrong. I apologize.
Mike, do you think it's just kind of the similarity in appearance and demeanor, or do you actually think that you're running a similar type of campaign to maybe some of your predecessors, namely Gary Johnson?
I can't think of anything that we do similarly. So I guess it must have something to do with appearance or demeanor. But I must say that I haven't, to be fair, I have not heard that comment. So, you know, maybe next time you hear it, you could ask somebody why.
Okay.
No, his policies were completely different. His strategies were completely different. In fact, I would go so far as to say, I think it's a misnomer that, you know, when people say that he was the candidate who fell apart because he forgot the name of a city in Syria, the truth of the matter is, in my view, that is not the reason his campaign fell apart. His campaign fell apart because he had not given people a reason to hang on to him. He had not given people a reason to believe in his platform and what he stood for. And that is not a mistake that my campaign is capable of making.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for clearing that up, Mike. And, you know, I mean, I loved Gary Johnson at the time. In 2012, he was my guy. I think I even supported him over Ron Paul in the GOP thing. But the Libertarian Party and libertarianism and sort of just the whole milieu has moved on since then, I think. And I think that both of you guys are tremendous standard bearers. Speaking of standard bearers for liberty, we have a question. And also speaking of national leadership, Josh, which you're probably the most equipped to answer this question. We have a question from Grumbly's Media in the chat, which, by the way, if people are interested in hearing from Chase Oliver, another candidate for the LP, head over to sportsgrumblings.com to listen to an interview. They just put it up yesterday, and that's where this guy comes from. But he's asking us, and Josh, I'm going to let you answer it first. So there's a lot of infighting within national leadership. He's wondering where you guys stand on the current leadership. Are they hurting the party? Are they just kind of experiencing growing pains? And not really well versed on politics, or are they doing stuff right? Josh, why don't you take that one first?
Sure. There's probably a lot of people aren't going to like this answer. I'm not myself personally happy with the national leadership currently. And when I think about that, one of the really important things for a candidate this year is going to be ballot access, because we're going to have to go out and get ourselves ballot access in quite a few states. I don't think that the party has the money or the personnel to do it right now. It's a whole new board. Of course, they're going to have some issues and work some things out. I think that there was, at least one staff member that was not pulling their weight and doing the things correctly. And I'm hoping that turns around. I'm hoping that this campaign helps it turn around. I'm hoping that we can ignite enough people and reignite that flame that we had going into 2022 in Reno and get it back on track. So I think that they're doing some good things, and I think there's some wonderful people on the national committee. I really do. And some of them are my very good friends, Stephen Nikela and Karen Ann Harlos, and these people have been my friends for, going on a decade now. But I think that there is some things being done wrong, and there has been some things that have been done wrong. And that it has hurt financially and membership wise our party. And I'm hoping this campaign can help that. I really do. It's one of my main reasons for running is to see the party that I've invested so much time in become successful again. So yeah, absolutely.
And Mike, did you want to weigh in on that question as well? I know you're not quite as intertwined with the national party, but if you do have insight, feel free.
Oh, I am. So there's no excuse to dodge it. I'm actually a lot more optimistic about the national leadership maybe than Josh is. I think that a lot of what has proved to be challenging is the nature of a transition. And in that sense, I would not suggest that the transition was the fault of the current leadership. The transition was something that was, I think, absolutely necessary given where we were as a party. And anytime you have that need, a transition, some might even call it a revolution. Some have called it a reset. But a change that's that large, that fundamental, is necessarily going to cause some difficulties in hitting some strategic objectives, some traditional numeric measures. That's just going to be the nature of it. And so I'm much more optimistic that the ship will see some smooth sailing in the very near future.
Cool. Great. Troy, you had something teed up and I interrupted you twice. So go ahead with with what you were going to say. I think you were going to highlight a chat comment. Actually.
Yeah, I was going to highlight a chat comment from the Scientific Libertarian regarding when Josh was answering his question about his political experience, that Josh has the silkiest hands and a very enjoyable handshake.
That's very nice of you. I appreciate that. That's a wonderful gentleman that I actually like a lot here in Iowa. So I appreciate it. I'll shake your hand anytime, buddy. Just let me know.
Yeah, Josh, you're going to be gripping a lot of hands, I think, probably coming up here pretty soon.
I have gripped a lot of hands in over the last 6 years. That's for sure. I'm sure Mike has as well over the last year. So it's thousands of hands, thousands for sure. No doubt.
If we could stay real quick on the party, on the LP party topic, and that is, Josh, let's start with you. If you should become the nominee from our party for president, what are you looking for from the party? What can the party do to support you?
I don't know that I'm going to be looking for a lot from the national party, to be honest with you. Whatever they can do to help us get ballot access in 50 states, I would appreciate that, because I'm going to be trying to do it myself. And there's great states that are working really hard to get ballot access, like Maine just has done a really great membership drive because they got their requirement lowered thanks to the great Eric Brakey. And so, if they can hit a certain membership number, they automatically get ballot access. It'll save them $100,000. I've worked on these ballot access issues at the national level for a long time. The party probably spends the majority of its money retaining ballot access in a lot of states. So that's what I'm excited. That's what I would appreciate the help with if I'm the nominee, is that we have some ballot access. But I know that I'm going to have to go out and get that for us in a couple of states too. And I'm going to do that work. And, my goal is to bring as many people to the party as possible with my campaign. So I want to help the national party more than they help me. I know this isn't going to be a big, huge 2016 style help from the national committee campaign. It's going to be a lot of, user funded and crowd-funded stuff going on. And so my intent is to get as many new members, share that information with the national committee, help them grow, help them get through these institutional changes that have happened over the last year, and keep us floating, man. So, and also, like I said, that standard bearer goal is that 5%. We got to hit that 5% in the general. The first person that does it is going to be hailed as a hero, because we'll have a third national major political party in this country. And I'm shooting for the moon. I think we can do it.
Cool. And Mike, same question to you. If you should get the nominee, what would you be looking for from national?
Absolutely nothing. I think Josh is on the right track there. The presidential campaign is not just larger than the party's role in the campaign. It's much, much larger. We're talking about millions of dollars in a relatively short period of time. Even if things didn't go well, right? A crappy showing would be $3 or $4 million. But we need to go way, way beyond that. I don't agree that 5% is shooting for the moon. I think that 5% is shooting yourself in the foot if you're looking at the kind of 2024 that it is shaping up to be. If you're talking about Donald Trump and Joe Biden and us only getting 5%, I would consider that to be an abject failure. Our role is to play a major role in American politics on the largest of stages in 2024. Absolutely, to not only disrupt the system, but to teach people that there is a libertarian option, a third option, a party that is wholly rational, that represents your ethics and your interests, and for people to rally around that idea. And I think that shooting for the moon is shooting a lot higher than 5%. And therefore, you're not really talking about something that the Libertarian Party is going to be able to play a major role with. Ballot access, absolutely, especially administratively and with early seed money, that's an important function. But after that, you're not really looking for anything from the party.
Thank you both for answering that.
All right, another question from the chat. YouTube, Scientific Libertarian, who loves Josh's hands but also has questions for us. He says, or they, or she says, what's the best thing to do with the Nuclear Regulatory Committee? Which I'm guessing is
The commission.
Something underneath. Huh?
Commission.
It's the commission.
What?
The commission.
Commission. Oh, sorry. You both
Same thing.
You both know that.
Same thing.
That's great. Well, Scientific Libertarian, don't run for president, because they will ding you for saying committee instead of commission.
No big deal. Not a big thing.
So yeah, I guess that's something under the Department of Energy. I've never even heard of it in my life. Mike, do you want to take that one first?
Sure, especially because it's an easy and a short one. It
Okay.
should not exist. Nuclear power plants should be approved in private sector consortia. If you can raise the kind of money that is necessary to construct one of these facilities, it means that you have had to have gathered a great deal of capital. You have had to earn the backing of a consortium of insurance companies. there is no expertise that the federal government, I would go so far as to argue there is no expertise that a state government is going to be able to bring to bear that's going to improve that situation. All they're going to be able to do is slow it down. As, playing a role in a presidential campaign, it's only up to us to say at the federal level it shouldn't exist. But as a practical matter, as long as we're on the related subject, I don't think it makes much sense for states to hold back that approval process either. I would leave that completely in the hands of the private sector.
Josh, anything to add to that?
Sure. It's very similar to what I have to say. I will say that the commission, basically what they do is they write out worst case scenarios all the time and then enforce their regulations and their regulations according to those worst case scenarios. And those worst case scenarios, when we're talking about like Gen 4 reactors, are so far off the mark that they should not exist. It's insane that they still exist. And like I said, I think that nuclear is wonderful energy that we should be on already, especially with these Gen 4 reactors. They're very easy to build. They're very safe. They already have nuclear waste removal and usage. The salt mine reactors. I'm not a professional at this, but I do know a lot about this. I've been talking a lot about it, but I've also been working with, like I said, an economist who has this great idea that we could open 40 Gen 4 reactors, which are small. It would power the entire United States, and to a point where we would have a surplus of energy that could go into battery banks, and we could charge other countries to battery bank for them and bring them our nuclear energy. And it would actually get us off the OPEC dollar. And he calls it the kilowatt dollar. You should talk to this man, Mike. You would probably understand it a lot better than I do.
I appreciate that. I have been a student of nuclear energy for a lot of decades, since living with a nuclear engineer a long time ago. I don't think that we need to target a certain number or a certain size. There is a debate right now about whether the most, as we say, minimum efficient size of one of these power plants is such that you would need 40 of them, or such that you would need 400 or 4. We need to let the private sector figure that out as technology continues to develop. It is fairly clear, however, that the long-term solution for the United States and for the world is going to be nuclear energy. I don't think there's any question about that. It's really up to us merely to get out of the way and let that happen.
Sure. No, and I don't disagree with that at all. I don't. This other side of the argument that I'm making here is a way to get us off the OPEC dollar, and it's a complete theory. So it's just something that I like to workshop, and I think you like I said, you probably understand it better than I do. If you talk to this gentleman, I'll talk to you about him offline, but it's a really cool theory, man. I do appreciate it. But yeah, the commission's got to go. That was the original question. I just went off on a tangent, but yeah, the commission's got to go. Like I said, they write regulation due to the worst case scenario. It's not even reality anymore. So,
okay, Josh, I'm not going to ask you who your economist is, but is it not Bob Murphy?
It's not Bob Murphy. No,
okay.
I have not yet worked with Bob Murphy.
Yeah, I know he did a ton of work with energy and stuff, but he's impossible to get a hold of. So if you had contact information, I'd like to get him on the show.
I do have some really great people on my policy team, but Bob Murphy is not one of them, unfortunately. Maybe someday.
Nice. All right, Troy, did you have anything?
I do. If we talked a little bit about this initially here, but the mainstream media likes to categorize individual political choices on a linear line, one end being the left, the other end being the right. And as libertarians, we don't fit into that prepackaged choice of left or right. So if you became the presidential candidate for the LP, how do you intend to position yourself as the Libertarian Party as a way to attract voters that believe there are only two choices?
Are you talking to me first?
Yeah, if you want to take that one.
Oh, sure. Well, look, I talked about this. I have a new video campaign, really great campaign video dropping on Friday. And I talk a little bit about this in there, but in 2016, 61% of the population did not cast a vote for the presidential candidates. those are the people I'm speaking to. Those are the people that are fed up with the uniparty and the constant filth that they and barrage of filth that they shove down our throats from DC. Those are my people. They're the blue collar working class people who struggle every day to put food on the table, man. And those are really the people that I'm going after. They're the ones who are being hurt the worst by the government, and they don't even realize that there's another option. So we're going to make a lot of noise. We're going to be a very, very media heavy campaign. I would be surprised if we don't drop a video every week. We're going to have a media blitz. We're going to hit all the big media outlets, as many as will have us, and the ones that won't have us, we're going to show up on their door and try to make them have us anyways. And that's really how we're going to do it. You know, this is the information age. I think that prior candidates, and I will say that I'm sure Mike and Lars and even Chase to an extent are looking to do this same kind of thing, but we're in the information age. The mainstream media, we don't care about them anymore. It's not a big deal. You know, when Joe Rogan's getting triple the amount of daily listeners that CNN is, the corporate news media is a dying old antique of a business. And so we're going to hit all the independent media sites, and we're going to get on, and we're going to make a case for why we should be the presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party, but even better, why we are the choice for the American public that is fed up with the uniparty system. And that's how we're going to do it. That's the only way that it's going to be done, is getting in front of people and telling them that we have the solutions, because people want to hear solutions to their problem. There's two things that bring people to the ballot box. It's hope and change. Obama proved that. And Trump proved that the populist message works. And so we need to go out there and tell people how we're going to fix the problems they're having, and how the government's creating them. And we're going to do that by getting on as big independent media channels as possible.
Well, and I was pretty excited to see that. I saw your post about being on Timcast IRL. I think it's Friday. Is that right?
It'll be August 30th. I'll be
August
on
30th.
Timcast.
Okay.
Yeah, at 8 to 10 o'clock, I think Eastern time, because it's in West Virginia. So, but yeah, they're flying us out, and we get to stay over there. I might get to skate with Tim Pool and all that stuff. It'll be pretty cool, man.
Well, I was happy to see that James was able to get you on here before Tim was. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Good job,
Yeah.
James. Mike, how about you? As far as that same question, how do we attract people that believe there's only a left to right option out there?
Well, absolutely. You know, the vehicle through which to do that, there's no question, is independent media. I think that we're all on board with that idea, which is why I've been on the podcast myself lately, and will continue to be. But to your point, the answer to your question is that we need to position ourselves as a party that is very, very different philosophically and in terms of solutions from what you've been seeing going on lately. You need to remind people that there is no other option between the Republicans and the Democrats. They represent the same option. If you believe in fiscal conservatism, if you believe in ending the endless wars, if you believe in a rational monetary policy, there is no differentiation between the Republicans and the Democrats. If you're frustrated with the way the government has been going, and I think that most Americans would agree that our government has gone off the rails, especially at the federal level, but also at the state level. If you believe in criminal justice reform, if you're unhappy about the way police officers are managed and the way that the war on drugs has been prosecuted, then it doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. Neither one of those parties is representing your interests. So in terms of solutions, sure. But I believe even more importantly, in terms of choosing a party that represents your values and your ethics, there is a choice out there. There's a new sheriff in town. That's this party. And most Americans are not aware that they have that choice, but they're going to be aware. And I think that Americans are going to be happy to see it. The name of the game is to differentiate completely from the Republicans and the Democrats. And to do that, you've got to run a very, very bold platform.
If I could just ask a real quick follow-up, James, as far as, and Mike, I'll start with you on this one, as far as one of the things that our party struggles with is that third party choice as being a wasted vote, right? So how do you, a contested election like this one's going to be a very important election determining the future of our country here.
Stop wasting your vote. If you are not voting for your ethics, if you are not voting for your principles, you're wasting your vote. If you vote for a Republican, if you vote for a Democrat, you are wasting your vote because there is no difference between those. Why would you even bother when there is no difference of any significance, particularly in the context of your interests and your values? Frankly, no matter what your interests and values are, I don't see a significant difference between Republicans and Democrats. Why would you bother voting for one of them? If you want to vote for one of them, stay home. Like, don't even waste your hour, much less your vote. But you should be voting to align with your interests and your values. In that sense, you should be voting Libertarian. If and you know, we need to make the case for why people should identify libertarianism in our party and our campaign in particular, why they should identify that with their values and with their interests. But once you do that, I think it's a hop, skip, and a jump, as we used to say, to don't waste your vote, vote Libertarian.
Great. Love that answer.
I disagree a little bit here. I do think there's a huge glaring differences in values between the Republicans and the Democrats, especially when it comes to school choice, healthcare freedom, this kind of new child grooming ideology that's really come to the forefront over the last decade. And I think the people are worried about those things. I really, really, really do, and so I do see the difference, but there's also people that are so jaded with two-party politics that they're sitting it out. And those are the people that we need to be messaging to. I don't think it's very easy to get a hardline Republican transferred over to the Libertarian Party. As somebody who's tried to do it for many, many years, it's not easy. In fact, it's like 1 out of every 5,000. And as far as the Democrats, we're what do they call it? Tilting at kites or whatever they say. Trying to get Democrats to come over to the Libertarian Party is very, very, very hard. It's probably 1 in 20,000. So, my goal is to message to the people that are fed up with that system entirely, but also people that are worried about those same things that I'm worried about, my children, and education and healthcare freedom and, these rag outlets calling everybody a Nazi and ruining their lives. And this is all stuff that's very real for people. And we have to have those solutions. We cannot go out there and I think it was tilting at windmills or something is what I was looking for. It's weird saying my grandma used to use, but we can't go out there and just say platitudes. We can't go out there and do there's no difference between the two parties. There's huge, huge, huge value differences there. And when we do that, we kind of tell the Republicans that are maybe a little bit more libertarian leaning that we don't care about their issues. And when we do that to the Democrats that are maybe a little more libertarian leaning, if there are any, that we don't care about their issues. And that's not a good thing to do as a political operative. And so, and I've learned that over the years because I used to be the not right, not left, just free guy. Right. And I used to be there is no discernible difference between the two parties guy. And every time I did that, I got smacked in the face with reality. And I've been very, very, very blessed to live in a completely red state of Iowa, where, you can't smoke weed, but you know what? We don't got to tell the government we're homeschooling our children. And, the mask mandate has been absolutely outlawed here. And, my job wasn't allowed to tell me that I had to put a substance in my body to continue working. And there's some big differences there, some very big differences. And so I want to message to those people too, because I have a lot of those same values and more so with the Republican side, obviously. But when it comes to the freedom and the casual social freedoms on the left side, I have some things in common with them as well. But I'm a blue collar worker. That is the very center of my campaign, is that I'm a blue collar working class, middle class American family that has had to live with the government on my back for the last 40 years. And those people are so jaded with that system that they think there's no way out. And so they're not a Republican. They're not a Democrat. They're probably independent or don't even know if they're registered yet. And those are the people I'm going after, that 61% of the population that has opted out of the two-party system entirely. Those are my people. And we have to make a case for why there are people. And we have to tell them that we're going to have the solution to their problems. And then they'll go out and waste their vote on voting for the party that's going to get 5% in the next election and make us a major party. And then when we're a major party, we have that. It's like when you run for, you want to run for governor of a state, right? Well, you've never ran for office before. So you're going to go right for governor. Why don't you run for state rep or run for city council or run for mayor? We need to show them that we have that in practice, our principles are actually going to change their lives, because that's what people want to see from politicians. So those are the people that I'm messaging to. Those are the people that I'm going to say, hey, these are the people that or these are the issues that you're having. These are the solutions that libertarians can offer, and this is how we're going to get it done. And that's how we're going to get the most people to vote for us. 100%.
Great answer. Love that one too. James, you got something?
Yeah, just following up on that. And this will be questions for both of you, but I'll start with you, Josh, because I'm replying to you kind of directly. You mentioned the child grooming stuff, and I think we're seeing a kind of shift in what libertarianism looks like right now.
Cultural shift.
It was yeah. In the 70s and 80s, kind of when libertarianism was getting its legs, there was sort of left libertarians and right libertarians, and they worked together and they were fine. And then at some point, Lou Rockwell and Murray Rothbard left the party. They gave this barn burner of a speech, saying, "Hey, y'all have become way too intertwined with the regime and with that leftism and progressivism." And I'm wondering where you think the libertarian movement is going to be in, say, 10, 20 years. Can you put on your fortune teller hat and just kind of give sort of your prognostication for what's to come?
Sure, I'd like them to be the major political force in this country, and I think that we can do that. I do think that we need to shy away from the left a little bit. I think that when you're talking about politics and political organizations, that most political organizations, if not all political organizations that are not explicitly right wing, will become left wing eventually, and that's Conquest's second rule, right? I mean, I want to see us start leaning into these issues like this grooming issue, where we're taking the youth of today and we're putting them through a mental health care system that is, instead of helping them come to terms with reality, which is what mental health care is all about anyways. It's all, mental health care is a spectrum from, general depression all the way up to psychosis. All of those people are supposed to have help with coming to reality and living in reality. And somewhere along the lines, we found a way to start telling kids that they could live outside of reality entirely. And that was okay. And we would actually go ahead and affirm that and start giving them life-changing mutilative surgeries and life-changing medicine that they can't come back from. And, to me, that's akin to grooming children, and we were all kids in high school once. And I know you had your days where you felt down and you felt like you were an outcast and you didn't have any friends and you couldn't relate to anybody. And you probably put on some eyeliner and listened to emo music or something cool like that. And now they're taking those same type of people and saying, well, you might be this, or you might be a boy, or you might be a girl, or we need to change you. And I'm not down with that. I think that that's a really bad thing. And I think that's part of the cultural shift in libertarianism right now is the children. And that's why I'm going to talk a lot about kids and future of our children. I think that needs to change. And I think that the Libertarian Party can really capitalize on being the party that's like, yeah, we're not going to stand for this anymore. No more messing with the kids and their education and their futures. And so that's where I'd like to see the party go. I don't know that it'll get there, but I'm sure going to try and help move that Overton window, certainly.
Let me push back real quick. So I don't disagree with you on sort of the necessity of protecting. Well, obviously, I agree with you on the necessity of protecting kids, but I don't necessarily disagree with the sort of ideological things that go along with that. Like you and I both have trans friends. Yep. I joined the Libertarian Party because of its decades-long stance on gay rights. Like sure. if there hadn't been that, I would still be a Democrat, just wondering what the hell was wrong with all the other Democrats, because I wasn't a socialist when I was a Democrat, and I didn't have any sort of leanings like that. But I was a little bit woke, for a 20-something guy that was gay and all that. So how do we not throw out the baby with the bathwater on that? Like
James, you're gay? I had no idea you were gay, man.
Shut up. I have to mention it at least once. Otherwise, nobody knows.
Look, here's the thing. And I talk about this in my platform, right? I don't care as an adult. Like, I don't care what you do with your body. If you want to graft a forearm dick to your forehead, that's fine. Just put underwear on before you're around my children, you know? And so my gripe isn't with trans people. It's with our mental health care system and the way they're treating children. And I think that needs to change. And we need if there's going to be a government at all, it needs to be a government that protects the rights of people, and especially the rights of those who can't consent to stuff like this. And so, you can disagree with me, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm sure this is my most controversial to libertarians platform plank, but I think that doctors who perform this kind of stuff, who misuse their authority in mental health care, should be tried for the same as sex trafficking children. You're taking what you've learned in your mental health care training, you're turning it on its head, and you're making a profit off of a trendy movement, and you're doing it to children, and that's got to change. And we need a president who's going to say that won't happen in my country anymore. And I believe that 100%. And it's like I said, it's controversial, but that's where I stand on it. And it's not a gripe with trans people. It's not a gripe with gay people at all. It's a gripe with mental health care and the way they're treating confused children. That's got to change.
Awesome. Well, thanks for clearing that up. Mike, similar question to you. Where do you see the libertarianism and the party and the movement and stuff in 10 years? And if you want to work in a response to Josh on that, feel free. Also, I guess I'd be curious to know, another kind of controversial issue with libertarians is borders. And as someone from a not quite border state, but close enough, there's a lot of mass immigration inside of Florida, from what I understand. I'd love to hear your take on border control and things like that, if you want to work that into the answer.
Sure, absolutely. At least now we know that there really is a big difference between myself and Josh. Look, more than one thing can be true at a time. It is true that if our government is worth a damn, if we're going to agree to having any government whatsoever, and we can debate about the extent to which that is true. But if we're going to put up with any government at all, at any level at all, at any size at all, it should be for the purpose of protecting our children. If it can't, do that, then truly we should all be anarchists. Look, it is true that I believe children should wait until an age of consent in order to engage in some of these medical procedures that we have been discussing. Something so personal and something so permanent requires a meaningful consent, and that requires being able to participate in the analysis of alternatives, an analysis of the root issues, an analysis of the implications for the rest of a person's life. Having said that, it is also true that how we, as individuals, as politicians, as individuals who would participate in the public policy process, how we feel about the choices that somebody makes. Josh said he's not cool with that or not down with that. That doesn't matter, okay? It just doesn't matter how you feel about it. What matters is someone's ability to make decisions for themselves. And yes, an age of consent has to be reached. But after that, however you feel about it, just doesn't matter. And I appreciate what Josh said about aligning more closely with the values of a Republican. I get that. But as a libertarian, I do believe that true libertarianism will take hold and play a major role in politics going forward. And the answer to your question is that the Libertarian Party will be more important as time goes forward, because specifically, exactly, in reaction to the authoritarian nature that we see coming from the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, including in these areas. Look, I was raised by a Lutheran and by a Calvinist, so, I'm not going to be able to hide the ball on how I feel about certain social issues. But it doesn't matter. You are not going to hear a phrase from me like, I'm not cool with that. my personal opinion doesn't matter. I'm here to stand up for your individual rights and make decisions for yourself. With regard to the immigration crisis that we have at the border, our government has created a crisis down there. It is a crisis of the government's own making. And that is because our government has seen fit to make something illegal that it is unable to stop. That is where black markets come from. Black markets are dangerous. Black markets kill. I spent a couple of days down at the Arizona-Mexico border last fall. I met with local law enforcement. I met with Customs and Border Patrol, with ranchers who have property on the border, and local political leaders, local libertarians. And I was certainly impressed in a very negative way by the extent to which we have a humanitarian crisis in terms of people being led into indentured servitude, and worse, by coyotes and other human traffickers on both sides of the border. It is an absolute disaster, and I don't think that Americans fully appreciate the disaster that's going on down there. It is absolutely heartbreaking. I believe that the right answer to the question is we need to learn how to vet people through in a legal fashion, not just faster than we are now, but much, much faster by 2 orders of magnitude. Look, immigration is one of those things that defines America for the nation that we are, in terms of culture, in terms of our entrepreneurial spirit. Immigration is good for America. It's good for our economy. It's good for our budget, by the way. Immigrants are not largely and should not largely be eligible for most welfare programs. So in that sense, it's not the budget buster that most Republicans and some Democrats would lead you to believe. Immigration is actually good for our economy, and we need more of it, not less of it, but it has to be handled in a way that's much more rational. This idea of telling people that they can't work when they first come in, I would tell them, damn well better get to work. I'm going to call you in 2 weeks, make sure you have a job. And this idea of it taking weeks to be able to clear someone through is stupid. When I worked for the White House, we could vet some people into anybody in to the White House complex in 90 minutes. So I realize it's a little bit of an apple and an orange, but this idea of requiring weeks to vet someone is just silly talk.
Well, Mike, Josh, unfortunately, to be respectful of your time here, we're going to have to cut it there. But this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate both you guys coming on and sharing with us your thoughts and more about your campaign. Josh, let's start with you. If you want to tell our audience where they can find out more about you and if they want to get involved in your campaign, and then we'll go to Mike and we'll wrap at that.
Sure. First of all, I just want to say on the immigration thing, I think Mike and I are almost totally in agreement. I do think that we need a much better vetting process. And I just wanted to clear that up because I know a lot of people are wondering what kind of immigration plan I'm going to put out. I've evolved a lot on that thinking over the last probably 4 or 5 years. So, it's a plan in the works, and it'll come out later if you guys want to find it. It'll be at my website when we release that plank on the platform. That is joshuasmith2024.com. You can find us there. Of course, I do my show every Thursday night. If you guys want to come and check out Break the Cycle with Joshua Smith, me and my friends here in the basement, we do a really cool show and have some cool guests here and there. And of course, you'll be able to see me on Tim Pool on August 30th for a 2-hour show with him. Then I believe the after hours show as well. Yeah, you know, as all candidates, we're looking to get funding. We're looking for volunteers, and we're looking for people to sign up for the email list. So you can get updates through your email that way. And all of that stuff is on my website. Once again, that's joshuasmith2024.com. And we'll be releasing a awesome, fresh new campaign video on Friday that I think James has seen. Maybe. Have you seen, James? Pretty good video. Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. I appreciate you guys having me on. It means the world to me. Mike, you're great. I'm happy to know you, and I can't wait to see you on the campaign trail.
Hey, Josh,
thanks, Josh. It's nice to see you again as well, and I'm glad that you will be on the campaign trail. I'm sorry that I missed you in Des Moines, but not next time.
No, I'll be here. I'll be here in Des Moines. Absolutely. We actually had a kid. My son Rocco was born right before that convention, like a day or two before. That's why we couldn't make it. But what's up, James?
I was going to ask if you could, just for the record, who was your first in-person guest on Break the Cycle?
So my very first in-person guest on Break the Cycle. Now, listen, this is going to make you sad.
In your basement in Davenport, Iowa?
No, not Davenport. No, my very first basement guest in person was state legislator Jeff Shipley from here in Iowa, who drove about 2 hours to come be on the show. My first guest in the new studio at our new house that was built for guests, not my personal studio that I had at the old house, was my good friend James Jenneman. And we appreciate you coming in to hang out. That was a great show. I still love that show. It's one of my favorite that I've done in the basement. So,
and I see your bottle of Scott Horton hot sauce just over your left shoulder there.
Right up there. It's actually no, it's right there. Yeah, and
there you go.
I've had several friends now drive down from Minnesota to be on the show since then, and I think that you opened the floodgates for that, so we appreciate you.
Awesome. All right, Mike, you go ahead and plug your site as well.
Folks should go to MikeTerMaat.com. The trick about doing that, of course, is that you'd have to spell it right. There are 2 A's in ter Maat, so you'd have to figure out that it's MikeTerMaat.com. Probably easier for most people is to go to goldnewdeal.org. Goldnewdeal.org is a little bit easier to remember and easier to spell. We're obviously making a little bit of fun of the original New Deal. We believe that we need a fundamentally new relationship between us and the government, as well as between the state governments and the federal government, but especially between us and the federal government. And you will see the most transformational ideas collected there at goldnewdeal.org. Reach out. My real contact information is there. Drop me a text and I'll call you back. You can call me too, but if I don't recognize the phone number, I may not pick up right away. Speaking of videos, we're putting out tomorrow the speech that I gave on Sunday at the Humanity for Peace rally outside the United Nations in New York City last Sunday. It was a great rally. We had 300,000 hits on the website that was thrown together just for that rally, and approaching something like 10,000 views on the videos. So we're very pleased to have been invited and participate in that rally. It's important that libertarians, I believe that it's important for libertarians to find those opportunities to attend programs that are put together in some cases by people that we don't agree with very much, except for perhaps one issue. And so we were very happy to participate in that. Thanks for throwing this program together and having me on. It's been a joy to be with you.
Hey, Mike, you were one of the top billed speakers at that Humanity event, correct?
And it was a lot of fun.
That's cool, man.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we will see you hopefully at the LPMN convention next spring. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right, that's it. That's the show. I know we ran a little bit over. Head over to lpmn.org/events for events near you, and to sign up for that state fair booth. It is the most fun you can possibly have at the Great Minnesota Get Together. Troy, thanks for co-hosting. And
yeah, thank you, James. Great show.
Rebecca, if you're still watching, we miss you, and we will see you hopefully next week back in the saddle. All right, see y'all.